Wife of 6 years cheated. Stay or go. My wife and I have been married for over 6 years, and she has just relocated to another state to pursue a master's degree at a different institution. At first, we had planned on me following her, but in the end, we agreed that the stability of my job insurance and the simple act of purchasing a house outweighed the benefits of moving. In our dating lives, both of us had dealt with the challenges of long-distance relationships and had successfully managed the obstacles that came with it. In the beginning of the year, my wife's former roommate moved out, and my wife found a new roommate to take her place, a 22-year-old Spaniard who was teaching in the same program as my wife, and who was also 22 years old. It wasn't uncommon for me to hear my wife say something to the effect of how gorgeous he is, which wasn't out of the norm for her, and I would grin. When we were conversing one day, she inquired as to my sentiments about being in an open relationship on the spur of the moment, to which I responded affirmatively, and she continued the conversation. When she asked for permission to act on her feelings for this particular person, it came as a total surprise to me and was something that I did not anticipate to happen. Because she'd formed a little romantic interest in him, she'd essentially asked for permission to act on those sentiments. Yes, I said, explaining that I had no intention of exploring possibilities outside of our marriage at the moment, and that I was madly in love with my wife. The woman answered by stating she understood and that she would adhere to the guidelines given to her, and I assumed that was the end of the discussion, which was wrong. A few days later, just before I was about to go down to her place for the weekend, she inquired as to my sincerity in relation to my position on the topic. I responded angrily, claiming once again that I had no desire to be in an open marriage with anybody at any time. In the aftermath of this, we had a heated argument, and she finally decided that I would no longer be able to visit, which upset me since I had hoped that this would be an opportunity to improve our bond. Following that, things were a bit challenging, but she ultimately decided to come up for the Valentine's Day weekend with me and my family. The fact that she had spent the whole weekend on her phone, texting and chatting with her new roommate, was already a huge red flag. I sneaked a peek at her phone a couple of times since I'm clearly the jealous kind, and I was taken aback by what I saw on the screen. I was receiving remarks like, "I love your eyes," and "Can we try it on a chair next time?" I was getting a lot of positive feedback. This was one of the messages I was receiving. My first reaction was to sit and think about it for a day before approaching her about it the following morning. After further investigation, it was discovered that they had been having for many weeks prior to my discovery, and that there were several more unpleasant messages, and that they had no intention of alerting me until I found out about it in this way. I was taken aback. She also informed me that she didn't want me to come because she didn't want things to get awkward between her and the person who would be my roommate, which she stated to me in detail. Over time, the conversation veered into her feeling that she hadn't been noticed or had any life during the 5 years we'd been married, but that she had discovered once again with this guy that she is in fact a very person, and that he had provided her with the companionship I hadn't been able to provide for her during that time. What I discovered afterwards was that I had not been paying close attention to what she was saying the whole time. As a result of my reluctance to give up the steadiness of our current existence, she had stated her dissatisfaction with being trapped in one place and her desire to explore the world. As much as I was hearing her, I wasn't truly listening to her because I didn't want to give up the security of our existing lifestyles. I'd always meant to fulfill these goals at some time in the future, but I wanted to be certain that we were in a position to do it financially before moving further. As a consequence, I find myself in this position. I was well aware that I had been the one who had pushed her at her breaking point. In the past, she has expressed her love for and devotion to me, while simultaneously maintaining that her connection with this guy is entirely in nature, and that she has no other feelings towards him. Just plainly said, I'm at a loss on what to do. In my apology, I conveyed my intention to work hard to improve myself and become a better person/husband, and she indicated a desire to continue working with me in this endeavor. My only concern is that I may be digging myself an even deeper hole by continuing to stay with her at this time. After 10 years of being together, 6 of those years were spent as a married pair, which is about 1/3 of my life, and something about that keeps me from objectively stating that I'm done with him. My mental health has taken a hit this week as a consequence of the fact that every waking second that we aren't talking, my thoughts turn to, are they having? And what is she up to? Things that are similar in nature. I'm going to see a therapist about this later this week since I'm completely at a loss for what to do at this time in my life. Story 2. My 25F, mother, 55F, keeps up communication with an ex-friend, 25F, I am on bad terms with. For the record, I'm 25 years old and have known an ex-friend, also 25 years old, for around 4 years at this point in time. In all, I'd known her for about 1.5 years until she passed away. For at least 2.5, if not 3 years, we haven't spoken or corresponded with each other. End of the day, she and I were not very simpatico with one another. Lots of things transpired between us, and she has caused me a lot of emotional suffering in the process. What occurred between us has brought me to terms, and I've found some peace in the reality that our relationship is no longer going to be. Several of my friends have alerted me that she has been speaking behind my back and saying some quite awful things, which I have attempted to ignore as much as possible. I don't want to continue any kind of relationship with her for all of these reasons, and I'm making every effort to cut her out of my life as much as I possibly can, despite the fact that some of our friend circles still overlap. My mother, 55 years old, and I have a tough relationship that requires frequent communication on both of our parts. Even though I adore and appreciate her because she takes such good care of me, I have come to the conclusion that I cannot trust her with my personal matters and feelings because she constantly uses them against me, mostly when we argue, or she just casually uses them against me in a hurtful manner and then laughs it off when I tell her that what she says is hurtful and tells me it's just a joke. My partner will leave me because he's had so many exes before, and he might leave me when he finds someone else he loves. She warned me at one point, and I realized that I couldn't trust her with my personal concerns and sentiments since she continuously exploits them. I realized that my mother and an ex-friend were often talking about me and, on many instances, about my personal life, which I found disturbing. It has already been brought to my mother's attention that she and I are no longer friends or on friendly terms with one another. Know the cause. The knowledge of this leaves me feeling very hurt and uncomfortable. I'm not sure whether it has anything to do with control. I've been working really hard to get rid of an ex-friend from my life. What should I do if I find myself in this situation? Is it conceivable that I'm exaggerating my concerns? Should I just brush it off and go on with my life?